Welcome to episode 214 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. He's Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024 and the first episode of 2024. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you follow our YouTube channel and subscribe, youtube.com/ETB Network. A little over 660 subscribers. Make sure you follow our website, etbpodcast.com, where we are seeing some blogs starting to roll in again. So make sure you go check that out as well. Make sure you check us out on all audio platforms. There's a million of them. I'm not going to name them all. We are basically on all audio platforms. So if you want to check it out in the audio and take it on the road, you can as well. New Year brought in more controversy.
The new year brought in, we could say, a return to the Rolling Thunder BS Mountain Review.
Yes.
I think the sports world kind of missed us.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about what we missed during the break, which if we have time, we'll get to at the end of the show. But here we go. Here's what's on the menu for this show. Wander Franco's been arrested. Gee, what a surprise. No shocker right there.
He tried to run. He tried to pay off the family of the girl he supposedly had an inappropriate relationship with, according to Hector Gomez.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah, so basically 3 strikes and you're out. No pun intended.
At the old ball game.
And let's be clear, we're not making fun of this, but Wander Franco's an idiot in every way, shape, or form.
We're laughing about this because he's screwed.
He's so screwed. And even Rob Manfred can't save him. Also, a lot of NFL controversy has happened in the past couple of days. Lions, Cowboys, which, by the way, the NFL couldn't have had it any other way with controversy. Brad Allen, the head referee, is now known more than some of the players in the NFL and is doing a nationally televised game in Week 18. So good job, NFL.
We're going to downgrade them for the playoffs, but we'll give them a nationally televised game.
Yeah, we'll get into all that. Also, Aaron Rodgers is in the news again.
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry. Did you say Aaron Rodgers?
RELAX.
But this time, I really can't take his side at all, ever. I haven't taken his side the whole time. This side, Aaron Rodgers is legitimately an asshole in every way, shape, or form. We'll break this all down. This involves the Jeffrey Epstein list, which was supposedly leaked and is out there. And Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, I shouldn't say leaked. It was released yesterday. But if you think, and it was released about an hour before we started recording, if you all out there think we're going to go through 940 pages of a list like that just to see if Kimmel's on it, you're dead wrong. That's not going to be my job.
Yeah, that's a little too much work. If we were getting paid and we had money coming in, maybe, but just no. No. Also, we'll get into the Russell Wilson controversy as well, which is
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, so let me put it this way. Russell Wilson is the tamest controversy on this show this week, which I didn't think I would say that, but we'll get into all that and how the NFLPA might have to get involved and about his injury, money, and all that. Also, David Tepper, the Panthers owner, threw drinks on Jaguars fans and basically got fined $100 in his own terms.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I know there's some history to the kind of fine that he got, but nevertheless. And then there are a couple of headlines that we missed during our little break that we can hope to get to. And then there might be an MMA one, which if you have seen what feels like 10 different hours that Zan and I were on in our own supposed break.
Yeah, there was a lot of news that broke in the MMA world during the Christmas, New Year's break. Hopefully everyone enjoyed their break and holiday with their friends and family. But now it's time to get back to the grind and back to work. So, all right, topic number 1. Here we go. Wander Franco arrested. Prosecutors claim Franco tried to pay off mother of 14-year-old he's alleged to have an inappropriate relationship with. Now, apparently there's 3 girls, supposedly. One is 14. We don't really know the ages of the others, but we know at least one is 14.
Well,
Hello, bing, 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 bing.
well, let me get a little more because the headline doesn't, it does the story justice, but there needs to be a little more to it. So during our little break away from the show, Dominican authorities were on the look for Wander Franco. He had been summoned to appear as part of the investigation, and he failed to show. And apparently, he went missing until later.
Missing.
Right, until later on, he resurfaced, and the authorities arrested him. You could actually see on social media a photo of him at his attorney's office, and all of them are like smiling. Like, that's not the kind of photo I would want out there.
No, you know what that was? Was like, oh, I didn't get away with my hand in the cookie jar. I'm finally caught. And this is not a good situation. Even Rob Manfred can't step in to save his ass at this point. He's got alleged inappropriate relationships. There's a lot of weird things going on with this. His MLB career is over. It is completely over.
Well, we kind of had a feeling about that, stretching back to
when the story surfaced.
Yeah, I think it was late August, because it was Hector Gomez. That man has been on top of this story.
Number one on this story, by far.
And he basically said that, given the circumstances, he didn't think that Wander Franco would ever play Major League Baseball again. And you consider the fact that he has now been arrested. He is facing the charges that he is facing, the accusations that he is facing, with at least one, if not multiple, underage girls. And the fact now you have this report from Hector Gomez, which surfaced about an hour or half hour before we started recording here, that apparently he tried to pay off the mother of the 14-year-old. And apparently, was it the Franco's mom made a bank transaction?
That was, well, no, just direct payments to the
payment.
mother. There's more to it, as Hector Gomez is just releasing things as we record this podcast.
Fire him off.
The minor at the center of the allegations in the Wander Franco case has 15 years. 15 years of age, according to prosecutors. After a raid to the girl's mother's house, the prosecutors found $800,000 Dominican pesos, around 13,700 US in cash, and $68,000 of US currency. Also, authorities found a car they allege was paid for by Franco. This is not good. Like, more and more, like, he's getting incriminated every step we go.
Yeah, the circumstances don't seem to be getting any better at this point. As you kind of alluded, he's kind of screwed now.
He's up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. Like, yeah. You and I, and a lot of people were not willing to, like, put the stamp of you're screwed. You and I were on this early, like, knowing that now that the evidence is there, I think that makes us look even better.
Hold on.
So,
hold on. Look into the sound effect for it. I think I got it.
Well, his contract is fucked. I mean, like...
Oh, here's the problem with that. I don't think... If Trevor Bauer didn't get... I mean, if the Dodgers didn't get out of Trevor Bauer's contract for the allegations that he had, I don't know if Wander Franco will get out. I mean, the Rays will get out the Wander Franco deal.
Now, Trevor Bauer never had direct charges.
That is true.
Wander Franco has direct charges, and he got arrested. I don't think Trevor Bauer ever officially got arrested, did he?
No.
So, Wander Franco has been arrested. He's been arraigned. He's going to be held in jail. This is a totally different scenario in every shape or form. And they have the evidence. There was a lot of questionable evidence. Not that I'm saying Trevor Bauer was not guilty. We still think he's guilty. And if you go back to that interview we did with and I keep forgetting the guy's name from NBC LA, but
Michael Duarte,
who was amazing.
I mean, he doesn't have a criminal charge against him, which is why you're right. Maybe this is a completely different scenario. And I had even made mention, we had talked about how right before we went on break, he had been placed off administrative leave. But
well, there's a reason though.
I had said,
Yeah.
well, all the lists, like the IL list, the admin, ends when the season ends.
Bingo.
So once spring training comes back, he's gonna go back on there. He's ineligible. He's gonna be ineligible to play again, and at a very minimum, he should not play in the 2024 season.
Well, my question to you would be, what the hell punishment can Rob Manfred give, like to make this even look logical?
If we're gonna compare the apples and oranges, Trevor Bauer got a 2-year suspension.
But didn't he appeal and get it cut down?
No. So it was 300 and yes, you're right, 194 games.
So it was appealed down to like a season and 30 games or something.
But if that's the case, this kind of crime, you could see 3+ years.
I'm gonna say you're gonna see banishment. I don't know if you're gonna see permanent banishment because there will be lawsuits if he gives a permanent banishment. But I could see 3 to 4 years, and everything has to be checked up upon in the process of it.
Oh, by the way, so here's where I was going with it from Sportico. Quote, due to protections negotiated by the MLBPA for guaranteed contracts, MLB teams haven't had much success trying to void contracts. This is true despite language in a uniform player contract that requires players to be good citizens and comply with the law. In the 1980s, pitcher Lamar Hoyt spent time behind bars for a drug offense, but an arbitrator held the San Diego Padres still couldn't terminate his deal. Years later, teams resorted to negotiating buyouts of a couple of pitchers, Sidney Ponson, Denny Nagel, who faced legal troubles.
Yep.
Perhaps the Rays could try a buyout approach with Franco, but they would likely have to pay him tens of millions of dollars.
It's so stupid. You know what? If you're an asshole and you break the law, your contract should be voided.
This is why I feel like professional sports leagues like MLB, NFL, they need a morale clause for their players.
Well, technically, they do have morale clauses because they have domestic violence type rules, but they don't protect the teams contractually, money-wise. The only thing it protects them from is liability.
Right. And
unfortunately, it's not enough.
It's not enough for baseball when baseball is a guaranteed money sport. What I mean by that, because yes, you see guaranteed money in NFL and NBA, but MLB is the one with fully guaranteed contract.
And that's a problem because, like, if this was done in the NFL, the player would have been cut and this would have been over. Like, there wouldn't even have been a fight at all because, again, nothing is guaranteed, really, except for guaranteed money in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
NBA, everything is mostly guaranteed. NHL, I think you can cut players and their contracts.
I was going to say mostly guaranteed.
But MLB's got a problem.
But MLB is fully. That's the difference. Most
right.
Versus
and Tampa is fucked. And it's not their fault, but like they were trying to buy out arbitration years, which is their right because they knew they had a home run player until all this nonsense happened. And they're stuck with a 13-year contract worth a lot of money. Now, I have to look up and see what the actual Wander Franco contract.
But we did talk about how when he first got this contract that it might come back to bite them. But we talked about it in the terms of if Wander Franco burns out quickly in terms of his talent. I don't think we ever expected anything like this to pop up.
Okay, so the Rays signed Franco to an 11-year, $182 million contract in November of 2021. So technically, what? They're 2 years into this, technically?
Mm-hmm.
They still have 9 years on this contract.
Yep.
It's not good. And Rob Manfred's going to screw this up somehow. Just like I have a gut feeling because he hasn't done anything right with punishment so far. you mentioned Sidney Ponson. He punched a judge. Like, he literally had charges. Like, so that's why he was never going to come back, and he went to jail. He literally went to jail.
So what do you think? No, but you mentioned you don't trust Rob Manfred, which you have your God-given right to, because we've talked about how in God's name he continues to screw things up in baseball. What do you think? What do you think should happen to Franco? What do you think Manfred will do?
I think it needs to be what we said. It needs to be a 3 or 4 year ban, but it has to include that Rob Manfred has to reinstate on the basis of like approval.
So
Essentially.
in other words, like when an NFL player gets suspended for a year or plus, then they have
after
to
3. Like, who was the one? Was it Josh Gordon? The one that got 3 warnings, or he got in trouble 3 times and got thrown out of the league for a year, and you have to be reinstated by Rodgers to get
Calvin,
back.
If I'm not mistaken, Calvin Ridley, after his 1 year with the game, because it was 1 year more, he had to get reinstated.
Yes, so I think the rule is in the NFL, if you get a 1 year or more, you have to be reinstated. You have to apply for reinstatement, and you're not guaranteed reinstatement either.
Correct.
And I think in this situation, because it's a dire situation, in my opinion, 3 to 4 years, go away. Now, first of all, we don't know. There could be massive jail time attached to this. You may not see him again, to be honest. But
here's what I'm going to say, because I don't know where this falls into the rules because of the guaranteed money. But if he goes to jail, as much as the Rays are our division rivals, if I'm Rob Manfred, I would turn to them and say, okay, you're free. You don't have to pay him anything at that point.
You know that's not going to happen, though.
I know the MLBPA is going to do the MLBPA.
And here's the ridiculous thing. You're going to defend a guy who basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm out of turn when I say this, who's essentially raping younger girls. Allegedly.
I don't know if I can say raping, but it's definitely
it's underage.
It's pedophilia. The term would be pedophilia.
Okay, so fine. We'll go to essentially a pedophile going after young girls. And don't you find that a little odd that the MLBPA is putting their foot down in the stand? We're going to defend him.
I would assume, considering that they were not willing to defend Alex Rodriguez,
actually, in the beginning, they were willing to defend A-Rod because the rules are in all players' associations, defend everybody regardless of the morality.
Okay, fair enough.
And you don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. The whole world doesn't agree with that.
But it's the job of a union.
Right. And we all know how unions work very well. So they have no choice. I guarantee you Tony Clark, his head is probably spinning on a swivel right now saying, oh, fuck, I have to defend this guy?
I don't want to do this, but I have to.
It's like a criminal who murders 3 people, and you know how you get the court appointed free lawyer,
right?
Like, can you imagine being that lawyer? Like, you're there as the court appointee, essentially. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh god, I have to defend a murderer. How? Like, my job is to get him out of this.
It's their job,
and that's what I'm saying. MLBPA, and I don't blame you, and I don't like the way MLBPA has ran over the last 4, 5, 6 years. But I feel bad for them in this case.
Yeah.
I can't say a mean thing about them because, one, it's in their contract to defend players.
I was going to say, if they ever release a statement in somewhat defense against the punishment, just remember that before you make any sort of remark.
Well, they might have to because of MLBPA contractual language. Like, okay, we have to defend him. Now, their angle is going to be the contract. That's what their angle is going to be. It's not going to be the morality, the charges, going to jail. They have no control over that. The legal system has control over that. But they're going to say, well, you signed a legal binding contract and you owe him such and such. Who cares?
Once again, Nick, I guess it's a little apples and oranges given some different circumstances that we talked about, and maybe we will if we get to what we missed during break. But once again, this is where MLB going without a salary cap and fully guaranteed deal. This is where it's coming back to bite.
Yes, but in this situation, screw the salary cap. I mean, his contract should be ripped up and thrown in the garbage.
You mean screw the fully guaranteed?
Yes, but I'm saying like, it shouldn't affect the Rays' salary cap. Is what I'm saying. It's not fair. It's not right. Now, like I said before, the Rays put themselves in this situation, not the legal stuff, the contract.
Correct, but I don't think the Rays can control,
But that's what NFLPA is going to claim. Like, you bought out his arbitration years. You put yourself in this situation. Not that I agree by any way, shape, or form, but that's what the NFLPA is going to claim.
Right.
Remember what I said to you before before we started? There's no win in this case. MLB can't win. Wander Franco can't win. These girls who have been shamed for something that this guy did, because as athletes claim they have all the power and they can do whatever they want.
Right. I was going to say Wander Franco was the biggest loser in all this, but considering what those poor girls have to go through, maybe I'm going to hold that statement back. Wander Franco is a loser, though. I will say that.
He's a loser. He's an asshole. He's a criminal. And I have no problem saying that. And I know you would say that we should hold that until the charges come. But there's so much evidence out there on him now.
Right. It looks bad. It looks insanely bad.
This guy should not be able to say the word Major League Baseball ever again. Like, he shouldn't be allowed to say the word. He shouldn't be allowed to say Tampa Bay Rays. He should not be allowed to say, be able to touch a baseball in a bat ever again. It's not right. And I'm praying that Rob Manfred doesn't turn this into a spectacle.
You suck.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I'm begging, Rob, please don't make a mess out of this.
I don't think Rob even wants to make a mess out of this.
Because if he makes a mess out of this, baseball's going to have even more issues.
All right. Speaking of making a mess of something, well, your favorite player may have just gotten into a big mess.
RELAX.
Nick, we're back. So you know what? It's time for another edition of Jets Country Take Flight.
I mean, again, before we get into this whole story, are you really surprised Aaron Rodgers did this?
Well, he's been running his mouth about this, so not really. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you probably haven't been on social media as of late. But Aaron Rodgers, he's been very brash and open about certain subjects stemming towards the political field. We already talked
nice by just saying a little open.
Well, I mentioned earlier this season when he continuously referred to Mr. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, as Mr. Pfizer, given the ads that Kelsey's been a part of, which he got a pretty good payday for.
We're talking about $20 million.
More than his NFL salary.
But so if people don't know, Aaron Rodgers was on his normal Tuesday Pat McAfee show slot, and they were kind of fooling around like they always do. And AJ Hawk, who's the co-host for Pat McAfee on the show, brings up the Epstein list, the Jeffrey Epstein list, which was being leaked. And it kind of went to a weird place. Now, before we give our opinions on it, should we hear from the Pat McAfee show to hear what Aaron Rodgers said?
I think we need the context.
Okay, so take a listen to this from Pat McAfee, AJ Hawk, and Aaron Rodgers, and listen to the context that involves Jimmy Kimmel.
Bring it up, Foxy or somebody back there.
Seats on it.
Bring up Super Bowl 58.
You'll see it.
The emblem. Put it on the screen. and then bring up 57 and 56.
Does that have something to do with the Epstein list that came out?
Feels like
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar.
Yeah.
I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this
He's
thing.
hiding.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
All right. Obviously, a clip from this particular program was run on Jimmy Kimmel's show whenever Aaron brought up the list, and then Jimmy mocked him for it. Mm-hmm. Aaron has not forgotten about that, but here we are sitting right in front of that nice bottle of scotch. Mm-hmm. What do you say? I'm waiting to celebrate something.
Oh, yeah.
He's been waiting
That's
for
the one.
You've been waiting for
Hey, I'll tell you what, if that list comes out, I definitely will be popping some sort of bottle.
So that's the context from the Pat McAfee show. Aaron Rodgers took it a little too far, basically claiming that Jimmy Kimmel, who's a late night talk show host, and I'll tell you why that context is necessary as we go on further with the story. But he claims that Jimmy Kimmel has connections with Jeffrey Epstein.
And basically, Kimmel's response was to call Aaron Rodgers an asshole on social media and threaten that if you continue with this, the next place we'll be talking about this is in a courtroom. Basically implying that he will sue Aaron Rodgers for slander. Now, I should be clear. I believe it is slander because if I'm not mistaken, it's libel only because people are throwing the word libel. It's only libel if it's written down. If it's
right. That's correct.
As of this point, it was said over the airwaves, radio or TV. Therefore, it is slander.
This is slander in every way, shape, or form. He's basically saying that Jimmy is connected to Jeffrey Epstein.
And again, as we mentioned at the start of the show, we know the Epstein list has just went out recently. The website crashed. And if you expect Nick and I to go through all 940 pages, no.
But this story, Aaron Rodgers went from essentially being out of the spotlight for a change and dragged himself back into the spotlight. And you know what? And I told this to Tyler in full disclosure before we started. I hate Jimmy Kimmel. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like him as a comedian. I feel like on his show, he's a politically motivated talk show host. That's who he is. But what did I tell you on my thoughts about this?
You can't side with Aaron.
There's no way I could side with Aaron on here. Jimmy Kimmel was slandered and attacked for no reason.
So, I mean, at this point, will Jimmy Kimmel's name appear on the Epstein list? We don't know. As of this moment, I don't know if we have any reason to believe until it happens. And
well, there's another problem, too. Jimmy said apparently like he was worried for his family and security-wise.
I mean, considering the kind of statement that was made,
so I don't blame Jimmy for being pissed off and writing that tweet. Now, is that doing him a disservice that he responded back to Aaron and the McAfee show? There's other context that people are forgetting about also that, excuse me, that on Jimmy's show, they played a clip from McAfee.
Which I think they referenced.
After Aaron made the joke or statement or whatever you want to call it. And Jimmy made a joke basically saying, go back into concussion protocol, Aaron. Which Jimmy sometimes can dish it but not take it.
I was going to say, which given, maybe not so much with Aaron's case, but considering as a general whole, the NFL and the controversies for the last, 15 or so years around concussions, maybe a little bit of a joke in bad taste.
Yeah, so, but here's the problem. When you put Aaron Rodgers on any airwaves, any TV network, any radio network, you should expect what?
Controversy.
Controversy, issues, censoring. Now, apparently on the YouTube side, everything ran uncensored. Now, I don't know what happened on the ESPN side. I don't know. Because when he's been on as of late, like they've had to censor out, blur some of the stuff that he's been saying, especially about the vaccine stuff, because ESPN doesn't want that on their airwaves, and I don't blame them. But this is not going to end well, because now Jimmy Kimmel is threatening legal action, like you read out of the tweet. And the reason I brought up that he was a talk show host, here's the context. Jimmy Kimmel works for which network doing his late night talk show?
ABC. And ABC and ESPN are both Disney properties.
Ta-da! Massive issue going on now. You have company friction going on.
Yay! Well, if I'm Bob Iger, as I told you before,
the CEO of Disney, by the way.
Right.
Yes.
If I'm Bob Iger, I am stepping in the middle of this before this gets to the courtroom. I think it would be smart of him to do that.
I mean, and people are going to yell at me saying because I don't like Aaron, why I'm about to say this, but Aaron's got to be off for at least a couple weeks. At least.
I don't blame you.
I don't blame you. They're paying him. Let me clarify some other things as well, because people don't understand the agreement that the Pat McAfee show has with ESPN. And people think that it's a straight direct deal that anybody makes for a TV show or a radio show or whatever. It's not. It's a licensee direct deal. So Pat McAfee's production company and everyone that works on the Pat McAfee show controls all the editorial and the content. Now, when you watch, I'm sure you've watched it on TV a few times before, but you notice that the scrolls are not ESPN if you watch the bottom lines.
Yeah, I did notice. I have noticed that.
That's all Pat McAfee scrolls. Everything is controlled by them because that was the deal that they made. So they licensed. They gave the deal. They gave a 5-year deal at $85 million for all the rights to license the show on their airwaves. So they have no control over what happens. So Aaron Rodgers is paid under the Pat McAfee production company, whatever the production company is called. They pay him handsomely, from what I understand too.
Well, not all that payment goes to Pat. It goes to some of the other people.
Think of it. I'll give you another example. Howard Stern's show contract. They get like $100 million, and then Howard spreads that all out to the staff. Same thing. Mm-hmm. So ESPN's kind of in a rock and a hard place because they don't control the content filter. They
don't control. You're right. Yeah. They don't control the content filter, and I guess you can say they didn't really necessarily expect that Aaron was going to go in the direction that he would go in. At the same time, it did go out over ESPN airwaves. So in a way, they are responsible for what happens on their show.
Of course, they're 100% responsible for what goes out over their airwaves. But I blame ESPN for making the deal that way because they have no control over. No, I don't agree with networks having editorial control over content, but you have to have some control in some way to say, "Hey, you can't do this."
But can you say that ESPN made that move out of desperation because of
100%?
They needed the young demographic,
and they're getting it too because it's all on their ESPN YouTube channel, ESPN Plus, all the digital platforms. They're making a killing. The $85 million is going to look cheap in the long run when they get to the end of that. But you have a problem now because, like I said, McAfee's production company controls everything. So they could sue Aaron Rodgers. Jimmy Kimmel could sue Aaron Rodgers, but it was done on ESPN airwaves.
So he's liable to. He's in his right, it seems, to sue ESPN in that regard too. But again, if I'm Bob Iger, I'm trying to settle this before we even get to thinking about lawsuits.
But was the damage done though because of what Aaron said? Remember that's something you and I have discussed for years about slander. Even if it wasn't 100% he said, she said, was the damage done?
That's the question at this point.
Because remember, like I said, Jimmy Kimmel said him and his family have security issues.
Well, when is Jimmy Kimmel on the air next? Live? Well, not live, but you know what I mean. Is it tonight?
it would technically be during the week. It's Monday through Friday. I think 12:35 a.m. Eastern time is when it's on. But this is a problem. Aaron Rodgers can't control his mouth. Now, it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Oh, wait.
What?
Apparently, Kimmel is still on repeats till at least January 8th.
Oh, probably because of vacation. But
the holiday.
So actually, this probably worked out in their favor that he wasn't live, because this could have been some.
Well, I was
really
gonna say
bad.
that made Monday, January 8th, 11:35 is gonna make for some interesting television.
In my opinion, though, Jimmy Kimmel's got to be the bigger man. Like he shouldn't go on, beat the crap out of Aaron Rodgers, even though I would be all for that, by the way. But you can't do it. You got to be the bigger man. If you stoop to the level of Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to win. You're just not. Aaron Rodgers will stick his feet in the sand and not move.
He'll stick his feet in the sand and then show it to a camera.
Yes. Ugh. Oh, God, don't remind me. But this is bad. This is not a good situation. Bob Iger's got to step in and say, look, you go to your corner. You go to your corner. No cage matches allowed. Even though Pat McAfee's been in the WWE, so it's kind of ironic. But
don't give Vince McMahon any ideas.
Just settle your differences, shake hands, move on. And I think ESPN now, is it going to be a be all end all? Like if Bob Iger goes to Pat McAfee and says, hey, we're not getting rid of you. We just gave you $85 million. Not that we want to get rid of you. We want to keep the show. We like the show. Everybody likes the show. But Aaron, you got to go. Like we just can't. It's a liability, a legal liability for every word that comes out of your mouth. And they just got over. Basically, all the fans of the show were saying, "Oh, well, you sold out by going to ESPN because they're going to censor the shit out of the show," which in the beginning they did, and then they finally realized that was not working. So now they allow all the curse words, which is because they're on cable, and it's a good show. But I don't know, man. I hope it doesn't go to a lawsuit, because this will be a mess for Disney if that's what happens.
Yeah. All right. Moving on now to let's step onto the field for a little bit. Talk about something we saw live. The referee controversy after the Lions Cowboys Monday Night Football special. So here's what I'm gonna say, Nick. I still stand by some of the words that I say, in that Dan Campbell kind of put his team in a bad situation, not going for going for it on fourth and whatever twice during the game, including once in the fourth quarter. At the same time, the video that then came out, which came out around the time that we had, which we had been ending the stream. It was me, you, and Dan. That video was pretty damning. And the NFL's response was to put out a video, say, that the player has to clearly report as eligible. Because I made mention that it was Decker, and it was another player who went.
It was Decker, and then whoever number 70 was
on the Lions. Yeah, that they both reported it at the same time. Kind of Dan Skipper. As a means, I guess, of sort of trickery or something. But I mean,
here's one thing also.
Here's my problem.
Okay.
You're a game official. That's not a mistake you can make.
Exactly. You can't make the mistake.
70 and 63 are two different numbers. That's
70 and 68.
68.
Which is worse, because they're even closer to one another.
You can't make that kind of mistake and say, oh, they have to clearly report as eligible. Now, it seemed like the NFL was going to do the right thing and sort of kind of punish the officiating crew, because this was not the first time that the officiating crew had gotten into trouble. There was a very controversial call. I think it was against Marquez Valdez-Scantling earlier in the season.
Yep.
And that crew was the same crew. So they have been downgraded for the playoffs. They're not going to do any playoff games, as far as I know, which is a blow to their paychecks. However, the NFL, in its infinite wisdom, has decided to grant this crew the Ravens Steelers game, which is going to be one of the 2 Saturday games on ESPN.
Well, in fairness, it's a game that really doesn't matter, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it matters a little more for the Steelers. The Ravens, it doesn't necessarily matter, but
Basically, there's going to be a lot of players sitting out.
But here's my problem with it. It's a national game on ESPN. That's not punishment.
Well, duh. But the other point I just want to clear up also, because some people don't know the rule, you can't have 2 players report at the same time. That's not allowed. So people were saying, well, why is 68 and 70? They said there probably was a little deception going on there because you don't have to say who reports until right before the play. So if the right player was reporting and that was 68, that should have been a 2-point conversion. Or was that the touchdown? I can't remember. No, that would have been the touchdown, right?
Yeah, no, 2-point conversion. You were right.
Right. That would have won the game, too. Now, what happened in that, what seemed like 5 minutes, 3 times the Lions had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first time, obviously, was they call it illegal touching, which is ineligible receiver. Then Michael Parsons jumps offsides, which you rarely see. And then what happened the third time? I can't even remember.
They just missed.
Oh, that was the third time. Okay,
Yeah.
so, and it wasn't even a good play. Like, it was some random throw, which wasn't even close.
Oh, don't remind me about this kind of controversy, because then the Giants did something like it the next day.
But do you remember how much I screamed after the first missed 2-point conversion? What did I say? Bad karma happens when you miss and you get another opportunity. Take the point. Go to overtime. Your chances actually increase when you go to overtime.
I guess I selfishly would have loved overtime, because I don't think we've ever had an overtime game during the games that we've streamed.
The Jet game. The Jet Giant game.
Oh, that's right. The Jet Giant game did go to overtime.
That was fun, too, because that was close the whole game.
Right. But so I would have preferred a little more fun going into overtime during that game.
No, that definitely would have been a game to watch. Because, and by the way, I got completely blown out on a bet with CD Lamb, who had 225 all-purpose yards, which I didn't expect.
Which, by the way, that Lions-Cowboys game, one of the most watched Monday Night Football games. It's like 3 of their last 4 have been, or 3 of their last 5. Yeah, 3 of the most watched Monday Night Football games in the show's history.
Is that streak still alive, by the way, for Monday Night Football games, that the underdog has won all the games?
No, the Cowboys were the favorite.
So they had 8 or 9 in a row where the underdogs won the game.
Oh, actually, I was going to say, yeah, they had a streak. I'd say the Lions didn't win, but they did
cover.
They did cover. I was say the Cowboys didn't cover. The Lions ended up.
But I'm just saying, that was an impressive streak, by the way, to have all underdog teams win. But you know what? I feel like even though the Lions were probably screwed a little bit, take the point. You had 3 chances. I can't help you. All I can say is
about them Cowboys. That said, it doesn't do any good when the NFL has an officiating problem every single week.
Oh no, they just wanted the Cowboys. You know they want the Cowboys to win a Super Bowl so bad, so Stephen A. Smith can jump up and down and do horrible videos about it.
No, that he would go excited if they ever lost.
Get the cowboy hat and a cigar.
Right?
Yeah.
No, you know what's going to be unwatchable program? Undisputed, the day after a Cowboys Super Bowl win.
Oh, Skip Bayless. That's gonna be bad. But
well, you know what? The Cowboys are the favorite to win the NFC East title now that the Eagles got upset by the Cardinals.
The Eagles are playing like shit, and I that's not hyperbole either.
Spoiler alert, tomorrow on Football Friday, you're going to hear, where is it? This. For as much as I selected the Eagles as my Super Bowl pick during the NFL preview, I'm going to fraud alert them at this point.
I don't blame you. I think I would too. I don't think I had them in my Super Bowl, or did I? No, I did. I did have them. I had Chiefs Eagles in the Super Bowl.
I was the only one. I was the only one to pick the Eagles if I had the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Everybody else picked Chiefs or 49ers.
The Chiefs are playing like shit too. A lot of teams, the good teams, are playing like shit.
Oh. Well, you know who once upon a time played like it? Yes. Oh, I can't believe we're doing this. And Nick, it's about to come to an end. We're pretty much at the end of an era right now. And tomorrow's
are we?
Yes. And tomorrow's going to be very sad when we have to do the final ever edition of
Let's Rock. Let's Rock.
You know what you need to do after week 18? You got to do like a best
compilation. Compilation.
The best of Broncos Country Let's Ride, and we'll put it together as a compilation.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Broncos Country Let's Rock.
Oh, you shut up, Russell. No one asked for your opinion.
For those who slept under a rock, Russell Wilson has been benched.
This is the tamest controversy on the NFL stories that we had.
But there's a lot of details, so let me try to explain it the best way I can. October 29th, that was the second day that the Broncos played the Chiefs, after they got embarrassed the first time around. Second time around comes. Before the game, Sean Payton and the Broncos officials meet with Russell Wilson and tell him basically the guarantees for injuries that are in your contract, take them out, or we're going to bench you for the rest of the season. And then they go out and actually win the game. And then they still hold to the threat. But again, guess what happens, Nick? If you don't remember, they win again. And they win again. And they win again. And they go on a streak to the point where they're chasing the Chiefs for the AFC West title. Of course, all those hopes were dashed when they lost on Christmas Eve to the Patriots. And not long after that, Russell Wilson does indeed get benched because there was all this little disputing about
injury guarantee.
Right, the injury guarantee involving Russell Wilson and his team, the NFLPA, the Broncos, a mystery arbitrator or negotiating party, which completely threw me out of the window.
No one knows. No one knows who it is.
Nobody still knows. Here's what's going on, though. Sean Payton, the head coach of the Broncos, is claiming the decision was a football one, noting how the offense had kind of over the last...
Wait a minute. Did you say Sean Payton claimed it was because of performance?
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop you fucking lying.
No, well, it's funny that you mentioned that because on last Football Friday, I think it was Johnny who noted Wilson's like 7 for something in passing yards this year.
He didn't have a bad year. That's what people don't realize. Like,
if this was the Russell Wilson who was performing under Nathaniel Hackett, yeah, I understand why they're doing all this. But they were doing this while they were chasing a playoff spot.
I mean, I thought they had a chance because the way the Chiefs were playing, that maybe they were going to compete for that spot. Yes. And that's not me being silly or whatever. I thought maybe they had a chance.
Nick, if the Chiefs had lost to the Raiders like they could have on Sunday, it would have been a situation where the Broncos just had to win and the Chiefs had to lose to clinch the division.
Damn, that would have been great.
But regardless, Sean Payton's claim was a football move, and as you saw, Russell Wilson was benched last week. He's benched again this week. One thing to note, however, is that the NFLPA apparently told the Broncos and the NFL in that October conversation that benching a player over contractual financial dispute with the injury guarantees like Wilson's was is illegal and would open the league up to litigation.
Oh God. So wait a minute. We're arguing over.
Yep.
We're arguing over money. Gee, what a surprise! Hey, Sean, you need to do a better job of learning to lie because you're not good at it.
See back the game.
It was at this point that his nose grew 3 sizes.
And here's the thing, and it's like what I told you off the air. It's like what I told you on Football Friday. I think Sean Payton was kind of proving his point. Now, granted, the Jets did not have Mr. RELAX this season, so we don't know how the Jets would have performed with Aaron Rodgers under center, and that's still to be determined. But he was kind of making a point known. His point was still kind of being proven, at least in November and December when the Broncos were going on their streak. But by taking out Russell Wilson on a good year, trying to get out of that contract and cut him, and willing to pay any sort of, money still owed.
The dead cap. Yeah.
Right. And more than likely go to a rookie quarterback. That is ballsy. Like,
Well,
you have
it's technically not a rookie because he played with the Raiders, but yeah, I know what you mean.
No. Obviously, Jarrett Stidham obviously is the.
You're talking about in
now.
draft.
I'm talking about what's going to be next, because they're not going to go into next season with Jarrett Stidham as their starter. They're going to go.
We're talking about throwing away next year to get to 2025.
So, if that's the case, then, here's basically what I said. I had said that Sean Payton comment about Hackett and the Jets in August was open mouth, insert foot. And here's what he did with that action. Because he raised his foot out. It was getting out of his mouth because of how the Broncos were nearing a division title while the Jets were fading. And now this action, Nick, he has put his foot in his mouth even further past his esophagus.
He might have foot and mouth disease.
Exactly. Like, this is... No, but my point is to basically, whether it's taking a quarterback in the upcoming rookie draft or punting till 25, that is ballsy as hell.
Well, especially with the amount of trade capital they gave up to get Russell Wilson, including what's his name, the wide receiver, Noah or whatever
the tight end, Noah Fant.
Who is really good, by the way, who they gave up.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course,
picks and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, the resurgence of Geno Smith.
I mean, this is not good. Sean Payton might lose his job.
I mean, at this point, all I can say, Nick, which, again, I told you off the air, that Super Bowl when you were on top of the world with Drew Brees, that was 14 years ago.
Holy shit.
The NFL has passed him by.
That was the Bounty Gate days, too.
Yeah.
All I could say is this is the same thing as we talked about before. Now, a little bit different, obviously, than Wander Franco, because Wander Franco had legal charges. But the NFLPA is going to do the same thing the MLBPA is going to do. Protect my player.
Yep.
He earned his money. You're asking to get...
But in this case, I would side with the NFLPA.
What, to remove his injury guarantee?
Well, I was going to say, what the Broncos are doing is BS.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is not good. Now, I don't know if you remember, I said it to you a couple of weeks ago, but I'm thinking that this kind of motivated Russell to play better.
I just find it funny. They're complaining about the contract. And they're complaining about the contract, but they made the contract. Well, even better. They didn't technically make this one. This is still on the Seattle one, but the extension they gave him was about to kick in.
So the 2 years that he was playing on were Seattle.
Right.
Then they signed a 5-year extension on top.
Right. And now the extension that they signed is about to hit, and they're like, no. It's like,
let's just rip that up. Let's rip that up.
Do this.
It's like a bad magician who accidentally dropped the cards out of their sleeve. Oops! Wait, where did those come from? I mean,
worst magician.
Yes, it's or sawing the box in half and not being able to put the thing back together. But my point is, this is not good. And Denver has a long term of hell that they're going to go through right now.
Probably. Speaking of hell, let's go to Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper, who's been fined $300,000 after being caught on film throwing a drink onto a Jaguars fan during the team's, I think it was 26-0 loss to the Jags.
It was bad. It was really bad. I'm wondering if he's regretting his Bryce Young draft pick. But here's the problem. So this game ends. It's a rout. Who are they playing again? Texans? Or the Jags. That's right. And they're playing the Jags. They get absolutely destroyed. Duval County totally just owned the Panthers. You see a video inside I'm assuming it's probably the owner's box.
Yeah, and he's like, ah, crap. And he throws his drink out of anger. And that drink.
We can't see the whole angle still, but he looks like he gets mad.
Right. Throws his drink, and then the drink.
And this was open. Like, it was an open into the seating area. And he goes and throws it all the way out. And if you look from the other angle, a fan like almost climbs up because he got hit with the drink.
Yep.
David Tepper's an asshole.
If I were the fan, I would have sued at that point and tried.
But what are you going to win there?
Just to get a settlement.
But what?
Although, technically, Nick, and people are pointing this out, and even Florio, as much as you don't like him, pointed this out. When he throw a drink onto somebody and that could technically be considered assault. That fan could have pressed charges if he.
You're not wrong. Again, was he? You can't say he was purposely trying to hit that person.
Yes, but Tepper also.
I'm not defending this, by the way.
Completely foolish.
Of course, it was completely foolish. It was him being an asshole. Of course, the NFL fines him $300,000 now. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that theory, though.
Well, can I explain a little bit of why it's $300,000? Because technically, going back, and Florio pointed this out to Bud Adams in 2009, who got fined
the former Titans owner,
who got fined $250,000 for flipping the bird,
and that still was not enough for that either. Really, you're gonna find, and I'm gonna look this up because I saw it on social media. I want to see. Here it is. David Tepper's net worth is $20.6 billion.
Of course. So
wait.
He could take the $300,000 and wipe his tears with it before he hands it over to the NFL.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure David Tepper's going to want a tax write-off for that $300,000 fine also. Really? You're going to fine an owner money when that's their biggest strength and power? Money? I mean, in my opinion, like, the owner should have voted him out and said, hand your ownership over for abuse of fans.
Unfortunately, Carolina, this isn't the first time we've had to deal with crappy ownership during the tenure of our podcasting days.
Oh, you're talking about Richardson.
Yeah.
Well, that was a whole different issue. But with the statue and everything.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good. Tepper gets fined $300,000, which is basically a penny to him, and he'll basically say, all right, a slap on the wrist and it's over.
And then he'll go and fire everybody except himself, because it's everybody else who's the problem.
Well, duh. I mean, that was Captain Obvious.
Yeah, of course. All right. I think very quickly, Nick, I need to find some appropriate music for this. Let's see.
Oh, no.
Let's see. I want to test some of these out. Let's see.
Disco music?
A little pop music.
Wait, where are we going here?
It's time for a little bit of what we missed during break.
Okay.
No, I think I briefly mentioned some of the things, because obviously we weren't on the air for a couple of weeks. There were a couple of major headlines that we never got to talk about because we weren't on the air. So let's just briefly make mention. Yoshinobu Yamamoto has signed indeed, and he goes to the Dodgers, to the chagrin of myself and you. 12 years, $325 million. Now, apparently,
Again, not a shocker.
well, here's basically the gist of everything. The Mets gave him the same deal. The Yankees only gave him 10 years, but paid $300 million, but cited it as a way to give him the AAV. So it would be the highest contract in AAV the Yankee won. However, as it would later turn out, remember when we sat and did the breaking news stream about Shohei Ohtani and jaw dropped at the deferment, the 97% deferment? Part of it was to ensure that the Dodgers would land Yamamoto, because Yamamoto had stated in the past he wanted to play with fellow Japanese talent. And of course, who's number one in that department? Shohei Ohtani.
By the way, Darvish is pissed off. I don't know if you saw that with the Padres. Because he thought he re-signed on a nice deal with the Padres, thinking that they were going to go after Shohei and all those guys.
And they didn't.
But that ownership is under massive, like almost bankruptcy, aren't they?
I was going to say, I think that was foolish on you rather than on, the Padres, because I can't understand how you didn't know about the fact that they were in so much debt and they sold off Juan Soto to the Yankees. That's on Darvish.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna repeat a certain word from a certain Austin Powers movie. $1 billion.
Yeah, $1 billion.
I mean, holy shit, Dodgers. Between Shohei, who's gonna make $2 million or $20 million over 10 years, and then another 10 years of $68 million a year, which is insane. But the Dodgers are gonna win a World Series. They're gonna win a lot of World Series.
They gotta win multiple World Series. Actually, let me just put it in the words to which Brian Kenny mentioned it on MLB Network. They're going to have a lot of expectation over the next 10 years, and they should be able to do a lot of winning and get multiple World Series. But when 2035 comes, and they're paying for Shohei Ohtani, who's probably not playing baseball by that point, and Yamamoto at the end of his deal, and all the deferred money of Mookie Betts,
and Freddie Freeman.
The Dodgers are going to turn into one of the worst teams of professional baseball in 10 years once all that money really kicks in.
I'm not going to go rehash everything we said in the stream, but deferred money should be illegal. That's just my opinion of it. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to, let's just say, excuse me, I'm just going to push this out 10 years. Don't mind me.
Well, at least not 97% of it.
Go ask Ken Griffey Jr. Who's the highest paid player per year on the Reds right now?
Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. is making bank, and he's in the Hall of Fame. His playing days are way past done.
And go ask
Bobby Bonilla.
Because we have Bobby Bonilla Day every year now. He's not making the most money, but
well, you know what's funny? I think Bobby Bonilla and Shohei Ohtani will share a day at one point, and then afterwards, it's going to become Shohei Ohtani Day.
It's not good for baseball, in my opinion. But okay.
28-game losing streak for the Detroit Pistons before it was snapped on December 30th. We witnessed that midstream, by the way. We had to stop the NFL.
I mean, this was an incredible losing streak. I think they now hold the record for single season losing streak with 28.
Yeah.
The Pistons have some good young players. Cade Cunningham will be a good player in the long run. Now,
and that's the sad part that somebody, I think it might have been Tree, who pointed out. It's not like they're purposely tanking.
They're not. They're absolutely not.
This is a team that's trying, and they can't win.
They're just a really, really, really bad basketball team. They were down 30 plus to the Bulls the other night. 30 plus.
Well, here's my question. Do you think by the end of the season they're in Charlotte Bobcats territory?
That's a good question.
Because if I remember correctly, the Bobcats, the 2011-12 season that was shortened by the lockout, I think the Bobcats only won 9 games. I forget how many games teams played in that shortened season, but I think the Bobcats only won like 9 games that year.
So their record was in 2010. Wait a minute, that's
11-12. 11-12.
Oh, that's how many they won?
Hold on. 20. Let me look it up. 2011-12 Bobcats season. They went 7-59.
Well, the over under, at least I told you, was 9. It was 9.5. Over under is what they had. Now, my favorite was, and the bet lost. Now, what the Pistons not winning a game for the rest of the season, minus, or was like minus 10,000 somewhere,
Yeah.
or plus
Plus
10,000 actually.
10,000 per win, yeah. Well, you know what? Detroit was able to get its wing stop the other day, so let's be happy for them on that.
You know what? They won a game and then they went back to losing. Go figure.
Yeah. And speaking of winning and losing, just to quickly wrap up the show, God damn it.
I love this story.
According to Conor McGregor, posting a video on New Year's Eve with a big bottle of alcohol right beside him.
Some kind of wine.
He's
kind of
coming
red
back
wine.
to UFC on June 29th, which will serve as UFC's International Fight Week pay-per-view against Michael Chandler, about damn time.
Wait a
at
minute.
Middleweight.
Wait a minute. Can we say that he trumped his own announcement?
Well, he said he was going to do it New Year's Day, and he did it New Year's Eve, so...
He basically, like, tricked out his own announcement. Like, he released a video beforehand, before the actual announcement.
Yes.
You know what? And you might disagree with me. It's good for the sport.
I mean, the UFC is going to make a lot of money on it, but...
I'm talking about eyeballs.
Right, I know.
Eyeballs, and the other one, which I saw you post on the Outsiders account, which I was confused about when I saw a certain somebody write unretired.
Oh, Masvidal?
I like him, by the way.
I don't think... I have a strange feeling it's not going to be UFC. I think it's going to be a...
Some random...
I think it's going to be bare knuckle.
Oh, Jesus. Can we put him in the slap fighting thing with Dana and see where it goes?
Oh.
You know what I want? I'd want Conor McGregor versus Masvidal in a slap off.
I'm sure Dana would love that.
Come on, massive eyeballs! That's all Dana wants.
Slap fighting is such a... I'm not even going to go there.
Where are they on Rumble now? I don't even know.
Yes.
Yes,
remember they lost their TV. Remember they lost their TBS deal because Dana slapped his wife.
Oh, well, they were drunk. Wasn't that New Year's last year?
Yes.
Jesus, so that was a year ago from like a... Holy shit.
It was the very first story I talked about, I think, in... well, not the very first, but it was...
In 2023.
Actually, yeah, Zan and I talked about one of the first stories in 2023. I think we gave it a controversy award in...
Yes, you did. You did. But, oh, man... obviously, are we done with all the topics? We could do a little house keeping in the process. Football Friday is back to Thursday. Well, taping Thursday, out Friday.
Yes.
Week 18. Holy cow. Week 18.
Playoff machine time.
Yeah, it's going to be a longer episode, so bring your popcorn and your beverage of choice. Whether that's alcohol or just a soda, up to you. Obviously, we liked working with Wolf Spreads. We might be expanding on that. We'll let you know. A lot of things coming up in the pipeline. Obviously, now that we're in a new year, we will have the NFL playoffs. We're working on a stream or two for one of the playoff games.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. Then you'll have our Super Bowl show across all our network shows. We try to do it the day before.
Yeah, it'll be the day before, so I believe it'll be February 10th. Time to be determined.
So make sure you tune into that. Obviously, then we have March Madness, putting together a March Madness stream with all our college basketball guys. That's going to be great. I think we're going to do a live reveal, depending on if we can get everybody in on that. Who are nerds on the bracket. That's not me. I know teams, but I'm not the best at that.
I do the bracket, but it's only for fun. I don't really know the teams.
So that's planned in the pipeline. Also, your co-host over there is gonna have a new show.
Oh yeah, Zan. He's going to be part of doing something under the Game On banner.
Yeah, so Bando's Breakdowns, 20-minute vignette / sports magazine show. 20 minutes a week. And actually, I gave him an idea. He actually liked it. We're going to do a little knockoff similarity to 5 Good Minutes with an interview every week from
Nice.
the PTI. Because I think you and I grew up on PTI. Like, that's one of our shows. So we're working on that. That's actually going to start Super Bowl week. So that's the plan for that. And some other stuff. There's some other stuff up our sleeves, too. So, yeah. Make sure you follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Please subscribe. Help. We need to get to 1,000. Click the button below. If you don't, I will have to come to your house with a baseball bat and hit you. So hit the button. Don't make me do that. I really don't want to do that.
Don't. We don't need that.
I'm not Aaron Rodgers, I promise.
By the way, I didn't know AJ Hawk had a voice.
Oh, yeah. Well, weren't they former Packers teammates, if I'm not mistaken, either?
Yes, I know, but I'm just he never talks on that show.
Well, no, he does, but
I know.
But Pat McAfee does like to hear his own voice when he talks. But yeah, etbpodcast.com for all our website and all our blogs, a lot more blogging content along the way as well. So make sure you follow our website. And also all audio podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of other platforms. We're on everything. So yeah, that'll do it for our first episode, episode 214, first episode of 2024. Again, Happy New Year. We are back in the grind, especially with this long episode. I can't wait till we figure out a name or a title for this episode. It's going to be something. But yeah, for Tom Albano, I'm Nick Morgasen. We are back in the groove, and we will see you for episode 215 next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.